Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. This video is going to be about the census. It's the first of several videos about the census. It'll be looking primarily at vision, so let's get started. Before we get into that, I found my copy of the War I Finally Won. I mentioned the book to you in the previous video. It was just the three books that she wrote about this. They're just wonderful, wonderful reads. Kimberly, Brubaker, Bradley. And I wanted also to show a book that was the first book that she wrote that I read. It's called Jefferson's Sons. Now I looked at Washington and Lincoln, but I didn't do a video on Jefferson. Now this book was definitely an eye-opening book, and it's you still can find it. You use places, thrift books and things like that often have it, and it gives you a insight to Thomas Jefferson as a man, not so much through the presidential part of his life as a man with his estate in Virginia. War, I mentioned. Well, this is the zookeeper's wife, and it is a war story, but it's a magical story that is an uplifting story, in my opinion. Diane Ackerman. So this is the first book I read by Diane Ackerman, and it was quite astounding. There's a passage in there. She and her husband are looking after this zoo in Vienna during the war, and there's a passage in here in which that night she lay awake thinking about the thin veil between humans and other animals, only the faintest border, which people nevertheless drew as a symbolic Chinese wall, one that she, on the other hand, saw as shimmery, nearly invisible. If not, why do we humanize animals and animalize humans? He's an ox of a man, or make an animal have human characteristics. For hours, Antonia lay thinking about people and animals, and how little animal psychology had developed compared with the other sciences, say chemistry or physics. We're still walking, eyes closed, in the labyrinth of psychological enigma, she thought. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll discover the secrets of human behavior, and maybe one day we'll master our bleaker instincts. Well, that's been going on. At the end of this on our senses, I will show a book that share with you a book that is showing some of the scientific research that's going on with animals as they communicate with each other. Meanwhile, Antonia and Jan ran their own informal study throughout the war, living closely with animals, reptiles, insects, birds in an arcade of humans. Why was it, she asked herself, that animals can sometimes subdue their predatory ways, that's their warlike ways, if only a few months, in only a few months, while humans, despite centuries of refinement, can quickly grow more savage than any beast? Well, that's quite the question that I think we as humans have grappled with through all those centuries and still today. So now, that was the first book I read about, but I've read others. She's a prolific writer and takes on amazing topics. I'll share another book of hers in another video. But here's her book called Natural History of the Senses. And she starts with smell. And she was a gardener. She did like to do a lot in the garden. But the last part, starting right here, is the beholder's eye. And I marked something in here I want to share with you when we're looking at the polar bear and about vision. Why does the polar bear seem to have white fur? And I just thought, well, there's an, oh, that's interesting. So I think that, she's a treasure. And talking about this individualizedness has led me to want to do a series of, it looks like maybe 4 or 5 videos on great books about cats for younger, middle-aged adults. So that's sort of coming up when I finish this sort of project that I'm looking at right now on the senses. Birds as individual. Ken Howard. Now, I mentioned Ken Howard's book in video number 13. This is 213, I think. So a long time ago. And at that point in time, I had a photocopied text that I made of her book. I couldn't find it in the libraries here. They did a search across Canada. They did those things at that point in time. It was some time ago. And found a copy in Nova Scotia. It was shipped here. I picked it up in Victoria, read it, and it was sent back to them. And I was just thrown for it was a marvelous adventure. This one woman, being a piano player, had a good ear, and she was aware of all the characteristics, the individuality of all the birds that lived on the property that she had in England. And subsequently, that was confirmed by Julian Huxley. Went and observed and talked with her, and I just thought, boys, that is why aren't we aware of this, really aware of this in a greater way? So I looked to see if I could buy a copy of it. $95. A bit of time went by and I looked again. $130. And I thought, oh my goodness, you know. So there's a bookstore in Victoria called Russell's Books. The grandparents grandparents, ran a bookstore in Montreal, moved here to Victoria, brought tons of used books. They were afraid the floor on the second floor might, when they moved in, not hold the weight. And they opened a bookstore, and subsequently they now have moved across the street in a space where they're carrying new books and used books. And I called them and said, I'd like to put a request in for birds as individuals. And they took my name and information, and I didn't hear anything back. So 17 years later, I get a phone call from Russell's Books. They have gotten a copy. They're now in this new location. They have gotten a copy. And I said, oh, wow, how much is it? It was $16.95 paperback. I said, well, what condition is the book? They said, it's in great condition. So I didn't hesitate. I got my Visa card out. I gave them my number, and then later on picked it up at their store. Louis Braille. First book I ever read about Louis Braille was this book called Louis Braille, The Boy Who Invented Books for the Blind. It's by Margaret Davison. And I shared it with students. I read the whole book to a 4th and 5th grade class. I just was so impressed by his perseverance, his desire to help others be able to read books. All the children wanted to be able to read books, but there was nothing really available for them. Here's the same book, more recent edition. So it's available. I checked. It's available through places like Amazon. This book I had picked up. It was a discard, and Seeing Fingers, the Story of Louis Braille by Anita de Gering, G-E-R-I-N-G, D-E-G-E-R-I-N-G. It covered the same territory, but it was, much of it was different, and the feel was different. The feel was of the family, the connection. France, in Louis' time, when he was young, had a revolution. Then they'd had Napoleon. Napoleon's forces had been defeated and were coming back, and things were being destroyed, and smallpox. So it was turbulent times. That period passes, and Louis goes to a school specially designed for the blind in Paris. Now, other schools were also developed in other areas, but they don't have books that he can read. So he comes up with a method, and it takes a long while before it gets accepted, because a lot of people in the power to have it accepted didn't want it. They were wanting to hold. They thought that would free students to learn on their own, and they wanted to have that control, or they wanted to be known as there's one man in the military, man who'd come up with a method so that people could read messages sent at night without having a light, but that gave the idea that Louis developed to a greater extent. If you want books for younger people about the senses, I want to recommend this book. So these are for 10-year-olds, 9 and 10, 11 and up adults. And this is for, well, 9 and 10s and up, and it's looking at the senses. And it's great, the great humor and fantastic design and artwork. The books are all by Joanna Cole, C-O-L-E, and the artwork by Bruce Degen, D-E-G-E-N. Magic School Bus, Explore the Senses. One last book. This book I picked up at a library book sale, and it was a discard, so maybe 75 cents or something. Expectations, a gift for Braille children from Braille Institute, and book sale. So it looks like 50 cents. And I got the book, I looked at it, and I sort of flipped through it, and this story ends at the top of this page, and this is all blank, but these are all rough, filled with bumps, and you can really see the bumps in this, and then this new story begins. And the book has a bunch of stories. The Frog Prince, for example. Maniac McGee, chapters 1 to 10 is in this. Race for the Golden Apples. Ebenezer Wheezer. The Old Ladies Who Like Cats. That's, I don't have that book in the cat unit that I'm going to do. But here it is here. And it's very clear. One of the nice things that I liked is in this book, the alphabet was easy to see how he went about forming it. A with one dot pressed in, and then B with two up and down, two horizontally, 3 for D, 2 for E, but diagonally, and it's amazing. He was 15 years old at the time he did it, and I thought there might have been, I remember seeing a picture showing the board that he had in his lap as he did this. I don't think that maybe I marked it, unfortunately, but where he could slide it down and it would leave him showing. Well, if I find that, maybe next time I'll show that with you. Always forgetting something. But thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.